Chuck Prudente. I'm a global lead at the Project Management Center of Excellence at Infosys Consulting, and this is Smartsheet Unlocked with Productive.
My name is Rich Coles, founder and managing director of Productive. Welcome to Smartsheet Unlocked, the show designed to help people get the most out of Smartsheet, whether just getting started or already power users, where we bring you insights and real-life examples from Smartsheet everyday users, overachievers, the team developing, and the people within Smartsheet. Ultimately, our goal is to inspire people to achieve better outcomes leveraging the fantastic platform that is Smartsheet to help transform execution and unlock potential, be it organizationally or personally. We've been sharing tips and tricks on YouTube since 2021 and working with fantastic people from around the world. So we thought it about time we brought some of these people to share their stories. I'm delighted to be joined today by Charles Chuck Prudente, a global lead at the Project Management Center of Excellence at Infosys Consulting. I've been working with Chuck for just over 2 years now, after one of the team at Infosys reached out to Productive to find out more after having watched some of our project and portfolio management videos on YouTube. What went from a simple exploratory inquiry has led to a fantastic relationship where the Infosys Consulting team have implemented one of the most comprehensive and impressive Smartsheet solutions I've seen. I'm delighted to have partnered with them on this journey and seen what they've gone on to achieve, not only with their solution, but the results it's had with their work with some of their impressive list of clients. And so I was keen to invite Chuck to the podcast to share some of that journey with others to help inspire and paint a vision as to what is possible. Now, very excitingly, I'm due to meet Chuck in person for the very first time in 2 weeks at Smartsheet Engage, where he and Andrew Brader, managing partner in North America Health and Life Sciences and SAP leader at Infosys Consulting, will be sharing some of their insights to attendees. Given many people listening won't make it to Engage, I didn't want you to miss out on these hugely valuable insights. Now, if you are at Engage, I trust this podcast still gives you even more than enough reason to attend that session with Chuck and Andrew, and for you to seek them out in person. But for now, let's explore. Chuck, welcome.
Thank you, Rich. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, Chuck. Firstly, Engage, just around the corner, and you're all set to go? Travel plans all set? And other than us meeting for the first time in person, which I think I'm probably more excited than that to meet you finally, what are you excited about and looking forward to at Engage?
Absolutely, Rich. It's something we've been looking forward to for the past year. Just the amount of information and the sharing of knowledge, not just with the Smartsheet team and folks like yourself, but also with other Smartsheet users. It's going to be a great experience for us. Really looking forward to it.
Brilliant. I was really keen that you guys attended last year, but in the end, that wasn't possible. But yeah, for people listening who don't know Engage, we've spoken about it a lot before, but it is the annual conference that Smartsheet holds with around 4,000 attendees who come from around the world to be inspired by what is new, what's coming and what others are doing. And absolutely, Chuck, as you say, it's just be able to be with others who are doing fantastic things to inspire and grow from each other. And again, this is the purpose of the podcast. For me, it's my 4th time at Engage, and it's the first time I'm speaking. Whereas Chuck, I love it. First time at Engage, and you're on stage straight away. Impressive, hey? So now, I don't want you to repeat what you're going to be doing on the stage there, but rather I want to go into your journey, your story in more detail. How did you get to where you are now? And what's been the journey with Smartsheet? And also, what have we done together with Productive as well? So Chuck, let's roll back. Now, the only other Chuck I know so far, again in the UK, is Chuck Norris. Okay, couldn't avoid him when growing up. Now, you're a bit different to Chuck Norris. We both have the same hairstyle. Chuck Norris, a very different one. But is Chuck, I guess that's pretty common in the US. If you're a Charles, you're a Chuck.
Absolutely. So it's either Charlie or Chuck in the US. And until I was about 7, 8 years old, I was Charlie in the neighborhood. And my mother actually doesn't like Charlie. So she made a campaign to get it migrated to Chuck. So she did a pretty good job because by the end of that summer, I was Chuck all over the place. So that worked out. And I'm happy with that. I find it's a nickname that fits pretty okay for me.
Well, and I love the fact that it is your business name as well. Richard can be shortened into various different ways. I prefer when it's shortened just to Rich rather than other forms of it. And so I go by Rich, but Charles Chuck Prudente. And I love it that you're known in business as Chuck and everyone knows you as Chuck. Love it. And accent wise, as you say, you're sort of, growing up in a neighborhood. So Charles Chuck Prudente. I'm a linguist. I love names. So the Prudente, to find out a bit more,
Yep.
but also your accent.
Italiano.
Italiano. And for those who don't recognize the accent, for us, the Europeans amongst us, where are you from in the USA?
Yeah, so I grew up in New Jersey, kind of the western part of New Jersey, which is the accent is a little lighter than you'd get if you were in the areas like Hoboken or Jersey City, and about an hour from New York City, but very rural. Great place to grow up, a little town called Long Valley. I then went to university down in Virginia, and I spent 17 years in Northern Europe, Scandinavia, for that matter. Lived in Denmark, Sweden, some months in Italy, some time in Germany. So I really had a nice experience with my European expat days.
Wow. So again, that time spent in Europe, but you firmly held on to that New Jersey accent by the sounds of it. But hopefully, like me, you've got many friends around the world, as you say, time in Scandinavia, in Italy, going back to your roots. So we're going to explore your role at Infosys Consulting in a bit. But again, so you've been in various roles before. So just give me a quick rundown, really, of your career history. How did you get to the role you're doing?
Sure. So in university, I studied business and with a concentration in accounting. Came right out of school, and I worked for Exxon, now ExxonMobil. It was interesting because it was right before the Valdez incident, so I had that to deal with. But anyway, I started to work for Exxon, very large corporation. They had a financial shared services center, and I did multiple roles there. I was then deployed to a refinery in New Jersey. Happened to be the oldest refinery in America, one of Standard Oil, Rockefeller's first refinery. So I worked there, and my jobs were various accounting jobs, product costing, general accounting, payroll, did a lot of different things, learned a lot. I then got involved with an SAP project. SAP was in its infancy at that moment. And I worked with a team from Pricewaterhouse, before PricewaterhouseCoopers. And I realized that project management was my passion. I just loved the visibility that it got by the leadership of the project from Exxon. I also loved the type of work. It was very time boxed, very driven. And that's where my consulting career started, because after that project ended, I joined Pricewaterhouse and began my consulting career. I started out in the US, the New York office. I then had the opportunity to go overseas, expat assignment in Sweden. That project was supposed to be very short, 6 months, ended up being 17 years. During that period of time, I not only worked for Pricewaterhouse, but I spent some time at Accenture. I worked for IBM, and then I came back to America 17 years later and joined Infosys. So yeah, my career has been very focused on ERP, SAP to be specific, and project management around SAP.
You've worked with some very big names, as you say. I mean, we got starting off on Exxon and then the Rockefeller side, and then going through to, say, Price Waterhouse, to Coopers and beyond, and now Infosys Consulting. Gosh, and you mentioned ERP. Well, we'll dig into what ERP is in a moment for those who don't know in SAP. So, Chuck, how long have you been at Infosys Consulting now?
Just about 4 years now, Rich. Okay. I've been with Infosys Consulting. I started out, first thing I did when I joined, I got involved in a new project that we were initiating for a client. It was an SAP S4 project, very large, typical 300 or 400 resources, combination of onshore and offshore. But here's the trick, Rich. I had a bit of a hiatus in my time. I took some years off and I did some traveling. I didn't mention that to you previously, but I took some years off and I did some traveling and I saw the world. And when I came back, I joined into Infosys. And one thing I didn't take into consideration was I really didn't know how Infosys managed their projects. I didn't have that standard way of working. I didn't have the toolkit on my laptop saved on my hard drive with RAID logs and project plans. I didn't have any of that. And I was a little bit at a disadvantage. And it was a real struggle for me to run that PMO office on that project without those tools. And that was one of the things that made me very passionate about what I'm doing with the PMC.
Tell us a little about this and how did this come to be?
Yeah, so this is very interesting. So the challenge that I was explaining to you, where I rolled onto that project, I didn't have a standard set of tools, methods, approaches. apparently was not a problem that just I was dealing with as someone who had been away from project management for a few years. There was a partner by the name of Jon Brizzi who recently retired. In his infinite wisdom, he recognized this. He recognized that what differentiates consultancies, it's no longer the ability to code. We all have great coders. It's the ability to manage and deliver on budget, on time, with quality. And so what Jon did is he got the sponsorship between himself as a global partner and our CEO. He was able to get the sponsorship to launch this PMCOE. And its objective was a couple-fold. One is it needed to be led by a partner that had very deep PM skill sets, almost to the level of, I would say, university professor. And that is where we brought in Jeff Keller. Jeff Keller and I were actually colleagues for about 25 years. He was the partner I worked with in Sweden when I first went out there. So I've known Jeff for a great number of years. He just recently retired from IBM, and we were able to get him to join us to help lead this initiative. And what we've done here, Rich, and I know that you've been along this journey with us almost from the very beginning. What we've done is we've come up with a structured best practice set of processes and tools, namely the PMCC Toolkit, which is what we're going to be speaking about here, that we are able to deploy globally to our projects in order that these intelligent, bright, driven project teams are able to take this tool and see a very clear path to taking their project forward.
Yeah.
And that's what we do.
I absolutely love it. It is. It's about time to value. This is what we always talk about. Time to value. You've got these
100%.
fantastic consultants, and yeah, everyone goes, let's do it this way. Let's do it this way. No, there's a common way of doing it. And I do remember those first conversations with Jeff. Actually, I'll go back to for me, the funniest story always with our relationship with Infosys Consulting is the first time that I received an email from Jeff. And at that time, I guess he hadn't started with Infosys Consulting formally. So he reached out to me just to kind of inquire. And so I got an email from a Gmail address, asking, oh, can I have your templates for project management? And one of the team was a bit shorter on his reply going, we don't just give out our templates to anyone who's writing in with a Gmail address. But I was intrigued. So I got in touch and said, hey, let's have a chat. Let's find out more. Got to meet Jeff. Got to hear the vision of what you were doing. And for me, again, with 20 years of working in very large organizations in industry, delivering projects, programs, the methodology, I was really excited and I could see the vision of where you guys were going. And I was like, wow, let's talk. And I think things rolled on from there. So Smartsheet, I guess, when you first got involved, had you come across Smartsheet before?
Not. To be honest, Rich, it was my first exposure. As I was involved in helping Jeff get engaged in this project, I put the parties together. I was following this. I was following it from a distance because I was engaged in managing a project at that time. So what happened was Jeff explained to me that he found this great tool. He's been talking to these guys Proactive. He showed me the YouTube video, so I knew who he was referring to. That was my first exposure to you, Rich. And I thought, this is really interesting stuff. And from there, it's the story just unfolds from there.
Brilliant. Well, let's go in. We first engaged and then said, well, this is what you set out to do. And we needed to move pretty fast. And yet at the same time, Jeff was leading this piece of work to say, bring the methodologies in, consolidate how. So there were two sides. One was actually what's the tool set you're going to use? And then what were the processes? And so this made it quite a complicated journey to understand people. You've got amazing people with all sorts of different methodologies. What's the process? And then what's the technology? And then the technology and the process have to come together. And when you start seeing what it can do, that changed. So I guess for many people, this is the piece. One, selecting the Smartsheet side. I guess Jeff did his market review and then we talked and could see the potential within Smartsheet. And I was able to help bring that to life for Jeff as we've spoken for the wider team as you guys qualified it. Now, as you say, you got more involved, Chuck, as we went forwards in that initial development stage. So just give me a sense for people listening. What's your recollection of that those stages as we went through the development cycles of working through, getting started, building out what became such a powerful tool and platform that you guys have now?
Yeah, Rich, that's a really very interesting story. And I will say like this, one of our setting your objectives that you're trying to achieve, whatever your initiative is that you're going to be using Smartsheet for, it's really important to establish those, consider those your business requirements. In our case, we needed, like you'd said, Rich, it was a combination of process and methodology and establishing a flexible enough tool that could support a combination of processes and methodologies, because we had made a decision that this COE was not going to be an SAP specific organization. It had to be ERP or technology agnostic. We needed our PM tool to be able to support any kind of project management initiative that Infosys would be engaging with. And that was one of the harder things that actually was what Smartsheet is able to achieve that so many other tools cannot, because of its flexibility, because of the ability to innovate and create on top of its foundation. That is what made Smartsheet the absolute choice, unequivocal. That was the thing that we ended up using.
And it was such a journey. Again, this was 2 years ago. Whilst I was established in my journey with Smartsheet then, the solution I co-created with you guys was absolutely, at the time, the most complex thing which I had done. And what I loved is, as you've just said, Smartsheet is just so flexible. It's not saying, well, you must do it this way. And so what we were able to do, it was very much a process of co-creation, week on week on week, of you guys challenging me and me trying to work out, well, how can I get it to do? And I was rewriting how you do things within Smartsheet. I was working out different ways to meet your needs, because again, it's not about the platform. It's about the end you guys are looking to achieve. And for me, trying to work out creative solutions. This is what I love so much about what I do. I'm solving puzzles. I'm trying to take my industry, it's taking that industry experience, because I've been there and done it. Albeit I only worked on an SAP project for a short period of time back in, 2003 or something. But Chuck, is then understanding what and going, what is it that you guys want? Jeff and you had that vision of what you wanted to. There's also a level of understanding and usage already of Smartsheet within Infosys Consulting. And so people were brought in. And so we started to bring together. But then I think hopefully you guys enjoyed it or respected me for it. In that I challenged.
And let me comment on that, because I explained that what we needed to do, the requirement that we had, the flexibility that we required. So we have this tool, Smartsheet, that based on a few demos that we had with you, Jeff was able to, with Andrew and Jon, they were able to agree that, yes, this tool is the one that we want to use. We're not going to build something custom. We're going to use this Smartsheet tool. From there, we really didn't know how to get started. And Rich, that's where you and your Productive team were invaluable to us. It was that guidance, it was that coaching, it was that knowing the art of the possible, giving us examples, whether it would be something that a template that you had previously built that you pointed us to, or something that you quickly just pulled together and shared with us and say, guys, here's a little pilot, here's a little example of what could be done to support that requirement. It was those sessions that gave us that kickstart that we needed. And Rich, I honestly, I don't think we would be in this position right now, having 21 projects up and running and this tool evolving, if it wasn't for that work that we did with you guys. So no, I really appreciate all that.
Chuck, thank you again. This is what I get out of bed for, in that I love solving problems. I love it when people come to us with challenges, say it can't be done. And I love to prove them wrong, and then it can be done. It just requires creativity of thinking around. And I think the way I often describe it is, it doesn't have to look pretty at the beginning. As long as you can prove it can be done, and then you can start refining it down to what it is. But what's the output you want? What's the input? Okay, and then as long as you can prove and create, some way of getting it to flow, then take it on from there. And I think, well, I know that's what you guys did, because what I love so much is, because it was a very involved design development process with you guys, and then I handed over to you what was one of the most complex solutions I had built and worked on to date. What I loved it was through that process, you guys had also truly started to understand what Smartsheet could do, and you embraced it, you deployed it, and then you refined it. And then what you guys have done since with your wider team is that process of continuous improvement. You've taken it to another level, which is absolutely fantastic. And because I don't have the real world interaction with the clients, and therefore this is why we get excited, because people come and say, can you solve this? Yes, we can. And then you're working that bit. So Chuck, you've taken the solution on. It's now got its own branding, I guess, with Infosys Consulting. Yep. Tell us about what is it that you are now using and deploying today?
Yeah. So Rich, we call it PMCC Toolkit. That stands for Project Management Control Center Toolkit, and PMCC for short. And the thing is, it's an end-to-end lifecycle management. So it starts out, if you're managing a project, a lot of projects start out with a very simple project plan. They also end up doing workshops, which they schedule in our tool. They gather requirements, which they capture in our tool. And it carries all the way through the design and the build work. If you're using Agile, we can support it. If you're connecting with Jira, we can support it. If you just want to manage your development directly in our tool, no problem. All the way through. Next step is you're doing your testing. If you're using a testing tool, we do the dashboarding all in one place. You got this one-stop shop where you can basically all leadership, any member of the project team, partners, Infosys, client, everybody is working together in this beautiful collaboration space. And it simplifies things, and it also makes the transparency, one source of truth, is the real power of this thing. And it's been remarkable because each project that we deploy brings us a new innovation. They test the boundaries of the tool. They really help us. It's user acceptance testing over and over again. And so we decided, let's leverage that. Let's not force these guys to comply. Let's take that flexibility. Let's recognize that all projects may have nuances, requirements that they have to address. That's why we chose Smartsheet. So we're not going to be rigid and structured. We need these projects to have a common foundation, but the flexibility to drive their project as they see fit. That's what we pride ourselves on, right?
And that is so fantastic because it's like constant evolution. And my phone always buzzes regularly from, I was like, oh, okay, it's you or Jeff saying, Rich, can this be done? I'm like, I don't know. Or I don't know. I've not heard that one before, because you guys literally are pushing the boundaries of what. And Chuck, just give me a sense of the scale. How many people? Because this goes back to one source of truth. This is the fantastic thing. Smartsheet is a collaboration platform. Absolutely. And that comes into, because you've got quite a few people collaborating on your projects.
For sure. So let me mention that from a team perspective, Rich, we support over 4,000 users, 21 projects, 4,000 users across the board. Like I said, client, partners, anybody who's associated with that project, we will grant access. We are not restricting at all. We feel the more the merrier, and that's how people get visibility, and that's how everyone gets on the same page and is able to drive to one project plan, one vision.
And it's outcome orientated. This goes back to Chuck. It's about what is needed to get the job done consistently, effectively. And I think the other piece is, I guess where I want to go on this bit is, what's the impact it's had on your clients? One of the bits which you spoke about was the speed of deployment, the speed of getting set up. But you bring in a large consultancy and there are fees associated. And as a customer, you want to be getting that return on investment as soon as possible. And I think that's one of the things which you guys can get started pretty fast.
For sure, Rich. Matter of fact, I would say this, having been in the SAP game almost from the beginning, mid-90s, when there were literally only hundreds of SAP skilled resources here, that was a much different game. And the way that game was played was you really went with the consultancy who could staff a project, who could prove that they could staff a project. Nowadays, There are so many talented SAP configurators, coders of ABAP, and they've all worked at multiple consultancies, as I have. The differentiator today is project management. It's who can you be confident brings the tools, the method, and the process, and the team to the table that can deliver that project on time, on budget, and with quality. And that is where we're playing. That is what this tool does. And that is where we're really seeing that we're giving our teams, our Infosys teams, that benefit, that accelerator, that confidence. So that's what we're bringing to the table.
And it's that speed of setup, and then it's that transparency. As you say, for me, Smartsheet's always been about, when you're a professional services organization, it's your clients. Can they see what's going on? What's the status? It's that trust. And what is so fantastic is nothing's hidden. It's one source of truth. It's not, oh, let me say, and well, I'll update you on that bit a bit later when I find out what's going on. We always talk about Ohio. You handle it once, data goes in once. And when the work happened, it's happened. If it hasn't happened, it hasn't happened. And there's that one single source that client and you guys can see what's the true status. And you're suddenly, the time saving, you're not running around chasing people up updates. What you're doing is you're discussing what needs to happen as a result of what the status is. That's the game changer. And you're not paying consultants to be asking for, share me information. You're like, show me the work.
And you asked me how long up and running. That's an interesting question, because that's one of the things that we really are driving on. The intention is to industrialize the deployment of this tool. So how did we do that? We took a lesson from the SAP deployments that we do. You make a global blueprint in SAP, and then you push it out to the various countries that enterprise or that environment will be deploying to. We decided to do the exact same thing. We took our solution. We built and developed the global blueprint. We make a copy of what parts of that blueprint would be relevant to the particular engagement. Then all we have to do is that incremental configuration in order to get it ready. And so we've managed to deploy the tool in a matter of weeks. We typically say 6 to 8. But depending on how close you're willing to adopt our out-of-the-box processes, it can be done even quicker. So that, give you an idea of the process.
Fantastic. Love it. And what kind of impact has this had from your clients? I've heard some pretty exciting feedback from you guys over the time.
Yeah, it's been a game changer for us, Rich. It starts right from the pursuit. So the RFP, the orals, when we're able to present and share this capability that we have, it really gives us a very strong position in the client recognizing our project management capabilities, tools, and methods. So it starts there. But then when it comes to actually delivery, what we're finding is it's the more the project sponsors, that's both client and Infosys, are willing to adopt and accept the tool, the stronger the adoption of the project team and the more impactful it will be. And when we first started, I'll be honest, it was something that we were learning about. Those points were ones that we obviously know. We know that from our SAP implementation work. But putting that into practice, it took us a project or two before we started off saying, look, we need to be sure that the executive leadership of this project is willing to get behind this tool and make it the tool for the project. There are no other options. You don't get to use Excel if you want to. You use this tool. Once that happened, it was the game changer. And all of a sudden now, we've got the same information being shared at senior leadership right down to the person who's actually doing the task in the project plan. They all have the same visibility. It's very powerful.
Gosh, and I think this goes on to, so you've got your PMCC for your SAP and other similar projects, but you're now going beyond just doing that. And I think that's a testament to the impact it's had on clients. Because I think this is what I've heard from you guys. They're going, well, you're doing it well here. Actually, we could do with a bit of help over here.
Yep. And Rich, this is interesting because our biggest advocates are the Infosys folks who've worked with our tool on a project. So they got exposure to it. And they're now asking the next project that they get to, hey guys, we need to use PMCC. So they're pushing us out and advocating for us. It's interesting because that was such a powerful moment that we decided to create a community. We call it the PMCOE Ambassador Program, which is where we keep all these guys informed about new features that we're creating, where we're deploying to, because we figured let's leverage this group of people that like what we're doing. They're like groupies in a way, and we love our PM community. The point that I wanted to make about that is that if you build a good tool and you make it accessible and you're willing to share your knowledge, it's amazing the folks that will get involved and get engaged. It's really exciting.
Something I so strongly feel about, and this is why I always do the podcasts, why I do the YouTube videos, is it's about inspiring others. It's showing what the art of the possible is. It's about taking people along that journey. Again, we're just launching Smart Hub by Productive, and we're going to be creating community for people to share information, because it's a give people are so excited to share what they've achieved and what they've done, and we want people to be able to see and feel that personal involvement. And I think what's fantastic is someone's got a good idea, great, hey, we can do something about it. Whereas in the past we've had so many digital systems which are, yeah, but we can't change it. The flexibility that you guys have Smartsheet is you can say, well, that's a great idea, yes, we can bring it in and we can roll it forwards, and then it's constant evolution. And I think the bit, as you said at the beginning, was your career started out with project management in the SAP side. And when you first went to Infosys Consulting, it was the project management and the methodology. And so actually, whether you're doing an ERP project program or whether you're doing other kind of transformation programs, that's where your clients, who will be doing all sorts of programs, they're looking at this going, well,
yep.
So hang on a second, if we can manage something as complex as an ERP implementation with this level of visibility,
yep.
Our simpler projects, we should be applying that same bit and the transparency and that visibility. So you're changing the game with your clients because they're suddenly seeing there is a better way. There is a better way to work faster, have that transparency, have that visibility to get the results faster. That is the fantastic thing where you guys are leading the pack from what I can see, Chuck, in terms of the ability that Infosys Consulting's had and helping people go, yeah, do things faster, better, more efficiently.
No doubt, Rich. And as a matter of fact, together, we've had a few clients that were so impressed with not just our tool, but with Smartsheet more. And I brought you in, we had conversations with them. There's a couple of clients where we're working together to help those clients develop their PM solutions. And it's really powerful when you can make a big impact on a client beyond the project that you're working on. And that's what, together, hopefully we'll find even more and more of those opportunities to do as a team. I really enjoy that work.
Brilliant. Well, Chuck, let's just dig in a bit more. The center of excellence. So obviously you've mentioned, Chuck, that it's you and Jeff, but there's a wider team. And I think this is the bit of upskilling that team, and then they're going out. And a fantastic example that you shared with me is how you told me about the advances you'd made with the AI technology from Smartsheet as well, and that you gave people different briefs to say, go out and explore and own. Can you just talk to this bit about empowering team, innovating, bringing that back to the center, and then improving it for everyone?
For sure. So that's something I'm really proud of, Rich. So as you mentioned, we started out, it was just basically Jeff and I and a few other team members that were part-time contributing, offering their time. But we very quickly realized that we needed to build an organization to support this. And the logical approach was to leverage one of our offshore teams called Project Management as a Service organization. So they're a team run by an individual partner. I think there are about 100 or more resources in this group. And we started to staff from that team. And the reason we did that is this group had not only the project management process experience, so they were people who worked on PMOs, but they also had strong technical background. We're looking for coders, but we were looking for that combination, as you show. So what we did is we staffed up with one or two folks right from the beginning, and they started to work with Jeff and I and with you and your team, so we could build our own in-house. I call them developers. You might call them configurers. I'm not sure what the proper term is, but it's a licensed user in Smartsheet, the folks that can build solutions. They can go in, create dashboards, they can create reports. They're the ones who can get the workflow set up. I personally am not as strong as any of those guys. Jeff loves that stuff. I personally gravitate towards, my thing is, I like to work with the client, understand the business requirement, know what's possible in Smartsheet, and then spec it out for my team and work with them to get it set up. But that's my personal approach. There are folks like Jeff and many others who want to get in there and do it themselves, and that's very doable with Smartsheet. That's what makes it so powerful.
And Chuck, but that's the joy, because one, it's the real world experience. The productive team, we're all come from industry because we've got practical experience. It's not just knowing how to use the technology. It's knowing what you're for and having that insight, that background in terms of how and where you're using it. And so, as you say, so you bring in your team members who are, and I would say solutioneers. We don't really have a name for it, but for me, solutioneer would be the word, because you're not a configurer, you're not a coder. You're going, what's this real world problem I'm trying to solve for? And how can I use these building blocks? Smartsheet's being compared to Lego at times, because you take these building blocks and say, well, how can I configure these to deliver that solution, which is the real world challenge? And my art form is being a master of taking those Lego blocks and creating crazy things as a result of that bit, because I can kind of create shapes that people don't know how to make. And as you've taken that, you've then given those skills, and then some people get it more than others. And so that's why you've got your established team, which I guess Chuck then takes us on to where we're going, is so you've got this core team, and you then give them a brief and say, well, guys, go and explore. You take this, you take that, you take that. Tell us about this process of upskilling and those guys learning.
Yeah, this is great. So we give them the basics, like a boot camp. It takes a couple of weeks before we've got folks who can create their own dashboards. Currently, our team is 21 strong. That includes Jeff and I. Everyone else is offshore. And the way we do it is we manage ourselves as like a break-even organization internally. It's pretty cool because we're 21 folks. We're really very much low to no overhead, because what we do is every time we have a new project, we take one of our folks who is on the basically getting ready to be deployed and deploy them to that project. So they become a member of that project PMO. They will lead the setup of PMCC for that client, and they will stay on that client for the duration of the project. We don't just set the tool up, shake hands, and say, good luck. We stay engaged. We then have a daily stand-up every day where each one of these individuals joins our stand-up, and we go around the horn, round the robin. Where are we on every project? Are there any change requests that are coming in from that project? Tell us about that change request. And this is the exciting part, Rich. This is where the innovation comes in. That change request process identifies things that project needs that may be unique to that project, but oftentimes they're things that we want to bring into the blueprint itself. So what we'll do is we track those on a Smartsheet, and we decide, we check the box, will that be blueprint addition or not? And if it is, what we do is we've got a couple of guys that are responsible, members of this team, that are maintaining the blueprint. And so we've learned that because our blueprint has so many assets, underlying trackers, dashboards, we've divided our team up, and each member of our team is responsible for a different asset. So while Jeff and I are the product owners of the solution, our team participate, and they each own a different asset and are responsible for staying up to speed with innovations within Smartsheet that could be beneficial, requests that come in from one of the 21 clients. Those folks are responsible for making that change to the blueprint if we decide to bring that forward. So that's how we operate. And I think that's one of the things that has made our solution continuously improve as we progress.
Yeah, that's just such a powerful example of project management in practice, actually, change management, constant, continuous improvement, and having an appropriate structure in place to make sure. And I love it that each team member then feels accountability for their bit. And doing your stand-ups, you say, oh yeah, no advance in my area, no advance in my area, no advance in my area. you start
Yeah.
questioning after a while. If someone's going, but I'm seeing these things, is the curiosity that comes from an individual who wants to grow and wants to see this bit. And Chuck, I'm going to go back to the AI side because I thought this was a fascinating example which you gave me as well, where some of the team came back. Can you just talk to me about how you guys are using AI in Smartsheet
Yeah.
currently?
So you remember those ambassadors I'd mentioned to you? They're folks from Infosys Consulting who really have a passion for the work that we're doing here. They want to be involved. They want to support us. They want to be part of this group. So what we do is we have monthly calls. We've got about 45 ambassadors. We have monthly calls, and sometimes we'll do a call to action. We'll show them what we're doing in the tool, and we'll tell them about new features and capabilities. About a year ago, as the AI features within Smartsheet became available as early adopters that we are, we offered some of our ambassadors, if they would like, to help us explore and create like a focus group. So we had a couple of takers, and shout out to Venkat and Amit who are leading that team for us. These guys have embraced it. And what they did is came up with a phenomenal approach to assessing opportunities within the AI capability. And what we do is for every sheet, every tracker, we go ahead and add a prompt list. So it's a pre-agreed set of prompts that we feel are relevant to that particular tracker, whether it be the RAID log, the project plan, change request. We've got prompts that are relevant to that particular process. The cool thing is these guys, and matter of fact, they just recently had a call with Chelsea Howard, the person that we connect to on Early Adopter, and we had a discussion about what's coming with respect to AI. And Chelsea shared with us some things, and these guys now have it on their radar as stuff that they want to be able to focus in on. And in terms of what we've learned in AI, it's amazing. I think that some of the graphics that you can create for dashboarding, formula support, it's really becoming quite a powerful tool. And that's aside from the typical analytics that you can do against a sheet.
That's a fantastic inspiration for others to hear that. And for me, it was truly inspiring as well because you're working in a volume of data that very few others get to experience. And so for me, when I'm testing out certain features, I don't have that volume. Whereas what you guys did is said, well, let's apply it and let's come up with those prompts and let's see the results. And so for me, it was fascinating to hear. And I was going, gosh, I'm not seeing that power, which you guys truly have done. So I learned a lot from you guys. And this goes back to the relationship between us as a Smartsheet aligned partner and working with you guys, as we all know crazy things we can do with the tool, but we need this relationship with you guys where we're hearing the real world challenges or what things you've done. Because then when you describe something to me, my brain then goes, oh, I can solve for these other items as well. So Chuck, I guess one final question on this part of it. Where to next for you guys within Smartsheet?
Yeah, so Rich, we're starting to explore what we call industry solutions. So one of the most recent ones that we've been piloting and we're working with a client project team. It's basically for mergers and acquisitions. When you acquire or you divest an entity, particularly in divestiture, you have something called carve out. And that means you've got a legal entity or legal entities. You need to separate them. You need to separate the processes, not only the legal structures, but you also have to separate the systems, right, and the applications. We, as Infosys, that's one of the practices that we run. So that team had a need for a tool that would provide them the project management support that they needed to run these carve-out projects. So we created a carve-out variation of PMCC that has now completed one full deployment, one full project, and we feel it's ready now for consumption by the larger market. So now what we're doing is we're pushing that out. We're bringing it to the mergers and acquisition practice, presenting it to them to create awareness and giving them the option if they would like to use this tool. And we grow organically that way. We're not marketing internally. We're just informing folks and they come to us.
Make things easier for people. And Chuck, this is the first time I'm hearing about that as well. And I've been telling you we're launching our product Smart Hub by Productive, and we've got a fantastic tool where you can upload hundreds, thousands of attachments in one go. So you think data rooms for M&A, and you've got data room, you've got these process documents. Well, we'll have a separate conversation, Chuck, where you can just drop in all those attachments and they'll drop into a sheet automatically and they'll be named, etc. And then you can use it. Chuck, it's always about innovating, finding new things. So Chuck, I'm now going to come to the questions I ask everyone. So what advice for someone first starting out with Smartsheet?
Okay, now that I know what I know, it's an amazing tool, very user-friendly. Getting yourself connected, honestly, Rich, those YouTube videos that you do, invaluable. A person can gain a tremendous amount of understanding, particularly in the early days, how to walk your way rather than run, walk your way through getting started with Smartsheet. And if you're fortunate enough to be part of an organization where you're able to engage an organization like Proactive, absolutely do it. Rich is not only a teacher and a mentor, but he's also a brilliant solution architect. So without him, we would have probably spent a year just trying to figure out the direction we wanted to go. Saved us a lot of money in that initiative by getting that clarity of direction. So that would be my call out. It's simple.
It's very kind, very generous of you. Thank you. Again, we do it because we truly love what we do and we love working with amazing people around the world. And I guess once you're started, like you and Jeff had to then disseminate this to a wider organization. It's not a small organization, Infosys. What's your advice for people looking to build that success in an organization?
Demoing your tool, doing some recorded demos, pushing them out through whatever marketing and media channels you have internally. That's what we did. Is we went to town hall sessions, we went to partner weekly connects, and we just started sharing. A demo really was the way to get. Forget about the PowerPoints, show them what your tool can do. And that's what we were able to do in order to create the old school organizational change. Create the awareness, create the acceptance that the tool is something that brings value, and then get them engaged and create the ownership. It's very
Chuck, you make me laugh because people say, so where are your PowerPoint slides, etc. It's like, I don't do PowerPoint slides. Nope. What do what can Smartsheet do? It's like, well, what are you trying to achieve? Well, this is what we're trying to achieve. Yep. Okay, let me show you. And that's exactly how we operate. It's like, let's not waste time building slides which aren't relevant to that person. Yeah. Tell me what you need and let me show you, because Smartsheet's so flexible and we've got such a roster of things we've done for different people. You are like, well, let me show it. There's no point going into PowerPoint slides because that's dull. Now, Chuck, your favorite feature, therefore, in the 2 years you've been using Smartsheet now and you've got pretty deep, what's your personal favorite feature? So
for me, Rich, I love the project planning sheet in Smartsheet. I used to be a Microsoft project guy, as so many folks are. And I always struggled with that tool. I found it to be very unintuitive, very frustrating to use. I love project planning in Smartsheet. It's so user-friendly, being able to get your Gantt chart views, being able to do your work breakdown structure, being able to assign tasks and push notifications out. It's just everything for me. The tool just makes sense. And being a project manager, you can argue the project plan is the heart of everything that we do. Everything else revolves around that.
Totally. And I first came to this as saying with 20 years of project management experience. And then I realized Smartsheet was not just an alternative to Microsoft Project. It was everything else that came to it. And that's why I've adopted it and built a business around it, because exactly that. It's got those capabilities. And then it does so much more. And then if you had a magic wand, what feature would you add to Smartsheet?
Personally, no, for our own purposes, I would say a database. If there was some type of a database underlying within the tool, that would be very powerful for us, because we're drawing from common information across multiple sheets, and we need to be able to connect data across multiple sheets. Database.
And that's at high volume that you guys are working in, just a lot of data, and that's the piece. Yeah. Well, Chuck, thank you for those bits. Now, Engage just around the corner. And so you're going to be on stage with Andrew and some of the Smartsheet team as well, telling some of the story, probably not in as much detail as we've been able to go today, which is the joy of recording this podcast. Is there anything else coming up that you would like to share for you guys as a team, or any particular members, who you've not mentioned that you'd like to make a shout out and thank?
Yeah, 100%, Rich. So again, I want to do a call out to the guys who made this possible: Jon Brizzi, Andrew Brader, the partners who drove this, Jeff Keller, who, like I said, is like a professor when it comes to project management and lending his thought leadership to this initiative. And then, absolutely very important, our offshore team: Dhruv, Nalay, Asta, Preeti. This group, I can't list them all. These guys, they have the same passion I have, Rich. They're always pushing the boundaries, looking for new ways to make something even more innovative and meet the client's requirements. We are, I never use this word, we are blessed. Honestly, I feel so much gratitude for that group. They're awesome.
Chuck, so wonderful to hear, because it is when you work with people who are equally inspired, equally hungry to make a difference, and you give them a tool that where they can shine, and there are those who seize it shine. And we talk about this podcast being called Smartsheet Unlocked, and we always talk about transform execution and unlock potential. That is what you, Jeff, and the team at Infosys Consulting are doing in abundance. You're unlocking that potential, and you're inspiring these guys, your offshore team, to go, wow, and they're able to create their careers and create their mark and do things which people haven't done before. And that's the joy of what Smartsheet brings to an organization. It's not, you do it this way. Yes, you guys are setting up a methodology, but actually they're creating and evolving that methodology so it's always relevant and not getting stuck in the past. Chuck, so exciting. Well, Chuck, you've been so generous with your time. You're about to be very generous with your time over at Smartsheet Engage. I'm very excited to meet you in person, finally, after all the work we've done together.
The same.
Chuck,
same here.
Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rich. It's been a pleasure.
There we have it. Chuck Prudente, a global lead at the Project Management Center of Excellence at Infosys Consulting. I hope and trust you got a lot out of that. In particular, just hearing Chuck's journey from his career starting out with ExxonMobil now to Infosys Consulting, and then what they have gone on to achieve with Smartsheet at Infosys Consulting. This solution, again, it's one of the most complex ones which I've seen, but like if I hold up my phone here, it might be complex on the inside, but it's got to be simple on the outside where people can use it and make that difference. And this is the power when you've got the right brains together, they can make that difference. And what I love is that at Infosys Consulting, they're constantly looking, evolving, growing, making things better, continuous improvement. And they are there focused to deliver the best outcomes for their clients, because it's about speed to market, speed of delivery. It's the outcomes. It's not the technology, it's the outcomes. And this is the key piece for me, that when I speak to Chuck and Jeff, their passion to say, can we and how do we solve this bit and innovate? And so we love partnering with them, because at Productive, we're all about innovation as well. So we truly hope here at Productive, you got a lot out of listening to this, and we trust that we're having a positive impact on other organizations who are looking to see where can we take Smartsheet to. We do this podcast to inspire people to unlock that potential, to see the art of the possible. And I think you'll have seen that in abundance with Chuck today. Now, if you have any questions for Chuck, I'll include his LinkedIn profile at the bottom with the show notes. And if you have any questions for us at Productive, please do get in touch. There's a link to feedback for the podcast, or if you've got any suggestions or people for guests, or you think you've got a fantastic story to share yourself, let us know, because we want to share stories that inspire others. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being part of the show, and bye for now.